March 1942, at a Nazi camp, 50,000 Jews people were killed in just a period of months. The operation was carried out by a Nazi Schutzstaffel, Lorenz Hackenholt. This man, right here, is responsible for killing millions of people. But suddenly one day, out of nowhere, he disappeared.
I couldn't believe. Me and my sister, my little brother, Ashes, we were being just pulled apart, never to see each other again. This is the 20th century.
We all are aware of the events that happened during Hitler's rule, especially the concentration camps that were built to execute people. But this video's focus will be on a particular man who played a crucial role in the 1942's genocide and was never apprehended. Lorenz Hackenholt was born on 26th of June 1914 in Gelsenkirchen. His full name was Laurentius Marie Hackenholt. Father, Theodor Hackenholt, and mother, Elizabeth Wobrizek. His siblings' records are unknown, but he had a brother named Theo. His early life was good. Till 14, he went to a local elementary school and then started working in a bricklayer company. Everything seems to be good here. So what made this person who worked as a bricklayer, guard, mechanic, and even a driver, killed thousands of people every day? It all started from here. After leaving the previous job in 1933, Hackenholt volunteered for the Schutzstaffel, or SS, in Oranienburg, near Berlin, where he worked as guard in German concentration camps. After this, he volunteered for the services in the army, and there he was assigned to the 12th Engineers Battalion. 2 years later, he was discharged after giving military services. In 1938, Hackenholt joined the SS Death's Head troops. He was transferred to the nearby Sachenhausen concentration camp, where he served as a mechanic and a driver. In the same year, Adolf Hitler abolished the War Ministry and created High Command of the Armed Force in February, giving him direct control of the ministry. And after a month, annexation of Austria by Germany was declared, where 200,000-strong Jewish population was living in the capital city, Vienna. This directly indicated to everyone that a war is on the way. 1 September 1939, Nazi Germany invaded Poland under Hitler's rule. World War II is generally considered to have begun on this date. On the orders, Aktion T4 program begins. This T4 campaign was also called Euthanasia Program, which aimed to exterminate mentally ill and mentally disabled people, meaning that the state will now euthanize people deemed unworthy of life due to physical disabilities or mental illness. In November, Hackenholt, along with other officers of the Schutzstaffel, were transferred to the T4 campaign. There were 6 euthanasia centers in the T4 campaign, and Hackenholt served in all of them. There, he worked as driver for the SS Untersturmführer, Dr. August Becker. Dr. Becker was responsible for supplying and delivering gas containers to the T4 centers. Hackenholt was doing a normal soldier job, like the others, but behind all this, he was involved in a bigger crime. He was responsible for removing corpses from gas chambers and then cremating them. This is where he started involving himself in inhuman activities. August 1941, Adolf Hitler orders a temporary halt on Nazi Germany's euthanasia program due to the protests. However, graduates of the T4 euthanasia program were transferred to concentration camps, where they continued their activity. On October 13, 1941, Heinrich Himmler, Friedrich Wilhelm Krüger, and Odilo Globoknik met at a conference at the Führer headquarters in Rastenburg, a town in Poland that time. In the conference, Globoknik was authorized to build a death camp in Belzec, and in between the war the SS built Belzec, Treblinka, and Sobibor under Operation Reinhard, the Nazi program to complete the genocide of all European Jews. All the three camps shared a common thing. They were all situated on or close to the railway lines for the speedy transportation of the victims to their deaths. These three camps were ordered to start the Holocaust. Hackenholt and some of the Aktion T4 officers were also transferred to Lublin Reservation in occupied Poland after the temporary halt of Aktion T4. In the same year, Hackenholt went to Berlin and married Ilse Zilmer. He was 29 at that time. After returning from Poland, he was sent to Belzec, a remote labor camp near the rail station, where he was ordered to conduct experiments in order to establish a method for the mass murder of Jews. In Belzec, Hackenholt set up 3 gas chambers in the area and started doing things that no one wants to know. Hackenholt murdered over 50,000 Jews in 1 month, mid-March to mid-April 1942. He was killing thousands of people every day in that chamber. Gassing was the method they used here, by using a lethal poison gas, Cyclone B, which consists of hydrogen cyanide. They were baited by saying that a fresh meal and a stay is ready after the bath. But what they weren't aware of, instead of water, they will be given something else, and it will be the end for them. Such a horrifying sight. Hackenholt realized that these 3 gas chambers were not sufficient for these killings, so in June, same year, he built 3 new gas chambers, a total of 6 gas chambers for the Holocaust. At this point, he was not a human at all, or no one was there to begin with. Women, children, did not matter to them. In just 10 months, they killed 500,000 people there. His description says everything about him. He was a tough man who was willing to do any task at the extermination camps. Hako was the name given to him by the other guards. According to the testimony of some guards, the Jews, who were not able to enter the gas chambers because of age or infirmity, were shot by Hackenholt while they were laid down in the graves. Such a level of a crime that no one can think about it. Some even say that soldiers who were exhausted or were not able to work were also gassed in the disinfection chambers. Soon, the building came to be known as the Hackenholt Foundation. Not just that, he even built and operated the gas chambers at Treblinka and Sobibor extermination camps, where he killed even more. After returning to Belzec by the order of Heinrich Himmler, he was entrusted with the task of extracting and burning nearly 450,000 corpses, which were buried in and around the camp. In December 1942, a decision was already made by the SS to abandon Belzec. The SS didn't want to leave a single evidence, so in April 1943, the task of extracting and burning the bodies was completed by the Jewish forced laborers, and after a month, the camp was liquidated. The Belzec was dismantled completely. The remaining Jewish forced laborers were either shot in Belzec or deported to the Sobibor killing center to be gassed. In order to cover the camp, the SS built a manor house, planted trees and crops to disguise the area as a farm on the Belzec ground. A police guard was also placed to farm the property in order to further hide the site. In winter 1943, Hackenholt and others from Operation Reinhard were transferred to Trieste, a city in northern Italy, where they were ordered to find and murder the remaining Italian Jews. And in 1944, Hackenholt was awarded the second-class Iron Cross by Odilo Globoknik. He was awarded for his role in Operation Reinhard. How ironic to see someone getting rewarded for doing murders. This can only happen in Hitler's rule. In April 1945, after the fall of Hitler, many Nazi soldiers were arrested and were apparently executed, out of which many of them committed suicide. Odilo Globoknik and Heinrich Himmler were also one of them who committed suicide. Hackenholt was also arrested, but unfortunately, this wasn't the scene. It is not clear, but somehow Hackenholt avoided being shot and was released from the custody. Of course, the details are unknown to this date. According to his colleagues, Hackenholt fled, last seen driving a milk wagon during an evacuation into Austria. After the war, he was never seen again. Theo, Hackenholt's brother, said that in 1946, he saw Hackenholt on the roads of Dortmund, driving a vehicle. Many years passed, but no one heard of Hackenholt. In 1954, after 8 years of Hackenholt's disappearance, upon the request of his wife, the Berlin court declared Hackenholt dead, setting the date of his death, December 31, 1945. In July 1959, the headquarters for the investigation of National Socialist crimes in Ludwigsburg in West Germany opened an investigation into the crimes committed in Belzec. The department interrogated Hackenholt's mother and wife. Both stated that Hackenholt had not been heard since the war, and upon questioning the neighbors, no one suspicious ever visited them. It was clear that Hackenholt never contacted his mother and wife after the war. In 1961, West German police interrogated Hackenholt's former colleague, Hermann Erich Bauer, who was serving a life sentence in Berlin. Hermann stated that Hackenholt had definitely survived the war because they both met in 1946 near Ingolstadt, Bavaria, where he was working as a driver or a courier boy. It was presumed that he stayed somewhere in the Ingolstadt area. He also stated that Hackenholt had a different identity of a dead Wehrmacht soldier named Janssen or Johansson and was living with a woman he had met in Trieste. The police conducted an investigation, but were not able to locate Hackenholt, or to even determine whether he is alive or not. They interrogated his family and former friends who had served with him in Poland. Several records were examined, and they even inquired to determine whether a driver named Janssen or similar was working in the Ingolstadt area. 90,000 people were tested by submitting their license applications near Ingolstadt. Their contents were matched with Hackenholt's writing and photos. However, all this effort was in vain. Several years of searching did not find anything about Hackenholt. There are two things that are very clear. First, Hackenholt definitely lived after the war. His brother spotting him in his meeting with his friend clarified that he was not dead. Second, more than anyone but the German police wanted him to be dead, or at least find and kill him afterwards. All of this search only proves that Hackenholt never came into their custody. There were few researchers who were interested in this case. One of them was Michael Tregenza, a British researcher, who spent many years exploring Hackenholt's whereabouts and was constantly being warned for doing this. Michael strongly believed that he had survived the war, and somewhere in Germany, he was living with different identity. So now, leaving the question, what happened to him? It's really hard to believe that he wants to live a simple life after what he has done. His disappearance only means that he escaped in order to survive. He escaped because he didn't want to die. That is something we can conclude here. The whole purpose of this video was to show that Hackenholt escaped without serving justice for what he did to those innocent people. He was the one who was pulling gas levers. He was the one who was shooting people. He was the one who was burning them, yet he disappeared without getting punished. The crimes in Auschwitz and Treblinka are far worse than Belzec, but the Nazi criminals there were served justice, but the Belzec dog didn't. After going through this case, I too believed that he survived and was living a life. According to his friend, he was living with a woman who he definitely married and probably had children's, even grandchildren's in today's date, who might be watching this video somewhere. I hope that this is not true, but everything indicates that Lorenz Hackenholt, who murdered millions of people, was alive and living a peaceful life after his disappearance.